Hello, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Legacy Made Clear with Aaron Stringer from Red Cliff Legal. Aaron, how you doing?
I'm doing really well. How are you?
I am doing much better, and as you can see, both my lips and my mouth are connected together today, which makes speaking so much
It
enjoyable.
does. It helps when you're
Oh
doing
my
hard work.
gosh. I remember on our last podcast we talked about power of attorney and how it's part of the estate plan. And this time we kind of previewed about when we should start to update our estate plan. So take it away.
Yeah. So it's, one of those questions I always get towards the end of when I help a client create their estate plan that they then ask, okay, now what? What do we do in the future, in the years to come? So it is a good idea. You need to update it from time to time. And if you just kind of filed it away in that box with all the other documents and lose it, then it's not really going to be doing what it should do
Mhm.
because people's lives change. We move, our family changes, people move in and out of our lives. So those are all different reasons why it's a good idea to stay on top of it and just make sure that you take it out and review it from time to time.
That would explain why when something important happened in my family, my mom and dad would go to the closet and pull out this big box, flip through the pages, and then they would call either the attorney or the accountant or somebody, and he'd say, "Oh yeah, it's time for you guys to update that. You know, this you've had some changes here. You know, when I had kids, even my kids were included in the updated estate plan. And so I remember my parents were doing that. It's a living document. You don't do it once and throw it in the drawer and forget about it.
Yeah, literally. I mean, it's called a revocable living trust.
Yeah.
So it's very important. Your kids get older, and where they're if they're minors when you originally create the plan, then
Yeah.
they're not in a position where they can fill those positions or those roles like successor trustee or your agent for a power of attorney. So as they get older, they might be the best choice for those positions, and so that would be one reason to update things. You also may eventually have grandchildren and may want to, incorporate them into the plan somehow. So, what I also see a lot, actually, had an appointment just yesterday about this. Someone just moved from one state to another. So that's not always, doesn't always mean that you have to get in and change anything, but it's one of those triggers. It's one of those things like, okay, we've made this big significant change in our lives. Let's take out these documents, look at them. I offer free consultations.
Mhm.
So, it's almost, you lose nothing by just setting something up and asking, okay, this happened, do we need to make any updates?
Yeah, I could see, since we're all living a very um, dynamic life full of freedom and flow, there's all these changes that are going on. And, there are financial changes. I could see if somebody had, let's say they came into an influx of cash, maybe they won the lottery or they got
Hmm.
something from, they're named in a will.
Yep.
Well, once they get that, they're going to need to update their estate plan because now they've got all this extra money in there. It's like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do with this? And then you come along and go, okay, you need to update your estate plan.
Yeah, exactly. So, and it works different ways as well. So that can be just like you mentioned, if you come into new property or new assets, and it's also the law is changing as well. So it
Yeah.
could be something that's not even, impacting you personally, but, uh, you know, we see it all the time. You get a new administration in, they're going to flip things around sometimes.
Yeah.
Um, Best example, one of those things we really keep an eye on is the estate tax exemption. So right now it's set high enough that it's not going to impact most of us. But if they, like I said, if you get a new administration in there, people that feel like, oh, let's, try to get a little bit more taxes out of these wealthy estates, then that could completely flip. And all of a sudden, people need to be more aware of what they need to do with their estate plan to try to avoid those taxes as much as possible.
Okay, now that poses a question. So let's say I'm the guy that took my estate plan and I leave it in the drawer. It's been there for like 10 years. I forgot I had it. And during that time, there have been multiple changes in the law, which I know nothing about. Well, it comes time for me to do something with my estate plan. And lo and behold, I go to my attorney, Aaron, and Aaron goes, "Oh, Mike, this thing is 10 years old. These laws are no longer applicable." I go, "Well, wait a minute. When I started, this was the law. You mean they can just change the thing on me? Or am I still susceptible to the law that was in place when I started?"
So I guess I could say both.
Oh,
There are
great.
certainly some laws that would be applicable at the time when it was created, and so that would still hold. But there are things that would change. For example, what I just mentioned with the estate tax exemption, that
Yeah.
applies um, as of the year that that individual dies. That's going to determine what the estate tax exemption will be for that individual. So that's always going to be changing. So you kind of have to wait and see what happens if laws change and adjust accordingly. So that's why we do recommend, at least every 3 to 5 years, whether there's a big change or event in your life or not. But then uh, you want to take it out and look at it and see what's going on, if there's any need to change. And then certainly, if there are those big life events, marriage, children, grandchildren, moving, all those different things would be a good reason to just take it out, have a look at it, and then set up a free consultation.
Sounds good. So every 3 to 5 years, we need to pull this thing out of the drawer and look at and see
Yeah.
what's going on. In fact, even I would think that even if there's been no real major changes we know of in our life, we should still probably want to call you and say, "Hey, Aaron, check this out. Have there been any legal updates that we don't
Yeah.
know about?" So that seems to make sense with me. Kind of like you're checking like your insurance policy. All these things need to be managed on some type of a regular basis, just to protect yourself and your family.
Yeah,
And,
exactly.
you had mentioned about estate taxes and things we can do to protect our wealth. I think we need to talk about that on our next podcast. What do you think?
That sounds like a great idea.
So
Let's
we're
do it.
giving you guys a preview. The next one, we're going to be talking about that. In the meantime, if you would like to speak with Aaron, schedule a free consultation, here's his phone number.
Yep. Give me a call, 435-817-9187. And email is astringer@redclifflegal.com.
That's redclifflegal.com.
Correct.
We'll see you guys again next time with another exciting adventure into the world of the law with Aaron on Legacy Made Clear. You guys take care.
Thanks.